Hey, this is Allie, and welcome back to days 23 and 24 for my December daily 2020. As you can see right here, I am diving in with day 23. I decided to do a pretty simple page for day 23. We bought loft beds for the girls this year for Christmas. It was something that they had asked for, but weren't expecting or anticipating, but we'd had lots of conversations about it before, so it was a really fun surprise for them. So the story that I wanted to tell was about how we were prepping that in advance. So I had a picture of Erin setting that up, and what I'm doing right now is I'm actually just adhering the full page photo to the back of my photo from day 22. I'm punching the holes, but I had to try a couple different tools as I was punching the holes because of the placement of the acrylic word on the back there. I end up just kind of pulling it up a little bit, but you can see I pulled out like all my hole punching tools to see which one would work the best. So a very light and bright photo there of Erin vacuuming underneath the loft beds that we set up. Setting those up included, getting rid of the bunk bed that they had before and rearranging their room and kind of cleaning everything out. So that took some time, which is one of the benefits of not having them here right before Christmas in terms of the way that we have our parenting plans set up. So initially with this one, I thought I might do a longer strip of those 2x2 circles, but I ended up going super simple and just picking 3 of them there. One that is open and I'm able to put on the numbers. You'll see I put 22 on there, and then I realized, no, it's actually the 23rd, not the 22nd. So I have one of the half circles there that says good cheer, the middle one that has a foiled outline, and then the joy one underneath. And again, kind of thought about, maybe I would do another strip there. Maybe I would do a strip of embellishments across the top. I kind of considered that as well. Either any, all of those, any or all of those would be just fine. But it was also just fine to have something really simple. So again, text on the photo in Photoshop before I printed it out, and then just a couple little embellishments here. These are part of a set that did sell out with the collection this year. We have them available digitally if you want to print them out. That's almost always an option with the majority of our products. Some of them translate really well to digital things that you would just print out at home, and other things don't translate as well. So it just kind of depends on what the product is. So, then I recognize that, yes, it's actually the 23rd and not the 22nd. So I pull out another one of those number stickers when I find them there, and then pretty much call it good for this page. Again, I think it's nice to remember that we can have a combination of beautifully simple as well as more complex things. For me, traditionally, by this time of the month and by this point in the project, I'm ready for simple. And simple for me is often the text directly on the photos and then adding embellishments on top of the photos. It's one of the easiest way for me personally to approach the project. So after I finished up with 23, I knew that I was going to do 24 next. I had already taken this photo of our 2 cats out on the porch and considered using that with the heart. So the heart is a page that I set up during the product play workshop. I created a transparent heart to go along with this one that has a bunch of transparent circles layered on top of it. So it's a 2-page thing. At this point, I'm still thinking I'm going to use the cat photo. I actually don't end up using it, and you'll see where I deconstruct this and then redo it again. I liked the idea of waiting, and which is what I end up writing on here with a white Posca paint pen, because for us, when the kids aren't here until midday or later on Christmas Day, there is definitely some beautiful waiting in the time, before they come over here. And so I was thinking I would just do Christmas Eve waiting, which could definitely be a story, and then I could have added my journaling on the back. But what ended up happening was I went back to my computer and I was like, okay, what other pictures did I take on Christmas Eve? Again, I didn't do a lot on Christmas Eve. Christmas Eve is like the true calm before the storm. I like to do nothing on Christmas Eve. And then for us, I do a little more more of the cleaning and stuff on Christmas morning. So I ended up reprinting a photo. This is a photo when I was working on a puzzle on Christmas Eve, having a drink and working on the puzzle. Definitely something that I like to do, and something that felt more more representative, I guess, of how a little bit of how we spent Christmas Eve, or how I spent Christmas Eve. Aaron had a bunch of projects that he was working on, so I just did a lot of hanging out and reading and doing the things that I wanted to do until he was ready to hang out with me. But as you can see here, I'm cutting out the heart there, cutting that out cutting out my photo using the heart as the template. Again, this was a die cut, part of a die cut pack that we offered in the shop this year with the collection. We do have this available digitally that you could print out, or you can just cut your own heart, right? You can take a piece of cardstock, cut out a heart, use that as your template. In this case, what you definitely need to do is make sure that you have you're thinking about where the holes are going to go on your heart, because that's one of the things that happens, especially if you're working inside an album. So just, again, using it as a template, going around cutting, and I did pull off that cat photo already, so you see adhesive on the top. This is a great example of me changing my mind in the middle of the process, which I'm always okay with as well. All right, and then going ahead and adhering that down, and then taking my scissors again and cutting off any of the extra, because it never ends up being perfect, which is fine. Cutting off the little bits and pieces there. And at this point, I was pretty sure that I was going to do something on the back of this heart to tell a little bit more of the story, or explain a little bit more of what happens on Christmas Eve when the kids aren't here, or at least what happened this year. One of the things I wrote down as I was writing, or as I was thinking about what I was going to say in this video, was this question of how do you decide what the most important piece of the story is? And I was thinking about that in terms of how, for me, a lot of times when I get to this part of the album or this piece of the process, I'm picking stories that aren't necessarily super in depth. For me, I'm looking at an overall story of the day, definitely at this point in the process. So was the day busy? Was the day calm? Was the day happy? Was the day sad? You know, those kinds of things are what I'm looking for to include in the story. And for me, picking one photo that is semi-representative of a very relaxing day feels like it's enough. Like, I don't need a picture of me reading on the couch, plus a picture of me sitting doing the puzzle, plus a picture of me making lunch. Those kinds of things. I can just pick one picture and it can be representative of the story. But I think the important thing too is to remember that it really doesn't matter which story you pick. The goal here is to have a story, right? One story is going to be better than no stories. And then the reminder again that it's the combination of all of these stories coming together that really is the most magical and meaningful overall. And that for me always takes the pressure off, feeling like, oh, this needs to be the be all end all story of our Christmas, or the be all end all story of Christmas Eve. I think that my approach to this kind of storytelling is just asking myself, what is the story I want to tell today? What do I want to remember about this time? And for me, from Christmas Eve, it's just that it was kind of the calm and the quiet before the merry mess of all of the kids coming back. That is the story that I end up telling. So at this point here, I was kind of debating what kind of embellishments I wanted to add on top. You can see that I took one of the die cut pieces from the die cut pack and cut it in a circle that says celebrate the little moments, but that still didn't feel like exactly what I wanted to use. I wanted to add some kind of embellishments on top. And so I kind of go through a bunch of different little options here as I'm thinking it through. Again, my actual story, or the written out story, is going to be on the back side of that heart. I'm going to just handwrite on there, making some lines. But this is the part of the process where I'm kind of trying out a few different ideas, right? I'm pulling out some of the embellishments from the kit or things that I had here on my table and just kind of trying them out. Any number of them could work just fine. One of the goals for me is always to, not hem and haw for too long, right? I think that that's something that is great for all of us to remember, that at some point you just got to stick it down, right? Stick it down, call it good, move on to the next story, because there's always going to be another story to tell. And that's one of the things that also comes into play for me when I am deciding what pieces of the story I want to tell as well. So I ended up putting the Most Wonderful Time of the Year chipboard on the back. That was from the chipboard bundle. It's not totally straight, but that's going to be just fine. I've been wanting to use that chipboard piece. I've pulled it out a few different times throughout the course of the month, kind of trying to decide when can I add this on there. I really liked the 24 on top of that. I almost left it there, but I didn't like how it was sitting right on the edge of part of the heart, and I also didn't want it to be coming over. So I ended up putting it on the other, on the photo piece, and I felt like that balanced out the chipboard embellishments nicely. I probably could have put another black something over on the other side, maybe one of the black hearts from or black stars from the star mini kit. There was some chipboard stars in there too. That would have worked well over there. I might actually go back in and add that in. Just a nice little something to tie those two pages together. Right now, part of what ties them together is that they are in alignment horizontally, right? They create a line there across both of the pages, and that's one of the things that helps link them together there as well. So just pausing to enjoy this. That's one of the perforated strips from the main kit. Sticking that down on top, and then looking in my my little container there, I do pull out one of the white star chipboards that was also in the chipboard bundle as well. And then just kind of putting it into the album and seeing a little bit of what it looks like there before I dive in and start writing. For my journaling on top of the heart, I decided to use the Slick Writer pen, which is a little bit thicker, and I also decided to draw lines first. So generally when I draw lines with my handwritten journaling, I add them after I write in my words. But if I want to make it a little more, I don't even know if creative's the right word. I want it to be a little bit more irregular. I actually draw the lines first. And when I draw lines like this, I'm able to have them be messy and have some be, significantly wider than other ones, and some of them be thinner, and then I can play with how my words or my actual written journaling goes into those lines, making some words significantly bigger and making some smaller. It actually looks like I grabbed the Stedler pen then when I went to actually write it. But this is fun. I like doing this, and I've done it in a variety of different ways in other projects before this sort of journaling technique. Basically, what I'm writing here is just about, how much I love the quiet of a quiet Christmas Eve, or quiet. I just like quiet, I think, generally. But that's what I'm reflecting about on here, because that's really what my day was. And it's possible that's what your day was as well. And it's also possible that you might not like the quiet as much on Christmas. You may be really missing your family or your traditions. And this is an opportunity to maybe write a little bit about that as well. That's always a story that is welcome, reflecting on the things that are hard about the season and not just the things that you loved. I always want to encourage people, that's always an option or a path that you can walk down with your journaling there as well. So I love the opportunity to write some in uppercase, some in lowercase. I think that's part of the style of the journaling that I like to do, whether or not I draw the lines in advance. You can also see how I'm pausing and thinking a little bit about what am I saying here? Because when I write like this, I don't know exactly what I'm going to say. I don't have it planned out in advance. That's something that people ask me often. Do I know what I'm going to say? And I don't. I mean, I know a general theme of the story that I want to tell, but then I'm also really conscious of how much space I have left when I'm hand journaling like this. And I know when I get to this point here, where I'm writing right now, that I pretty much need to wrap it up, right? That's going to be the end of the story there. So just adding in a little bit more and then calling it good and placing it into the album. So that's a look at days 23 and 24, or stories 23 and 24 in my December daily album. Let me know if you guys have any questions in the comments below.